The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to Up the Cherries in all departments, and thank you for joining us ahead of this game against Everton. So, a win against Manchester United and 2 draws against Crystal Palace, and then, of course, a 2-2 draw up at Fulham. We're back to home comforts, though, this weekend at Dean Court, where we take on the Toffees. Of course, this needs no reminder of what happened at Goodison Park. Of course, 2-0 down. And then about the 88th minute, I think it was, we went on a rampage and won the game 3-2. It made history, but hopefully we won't do that again this time, and hopefully we'll win a little bit more comfortable. Now, before we get stuck into the preview, here's a bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. Find out more about them, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, firstly, apologies about the croakiness. I sound a little bit like Barry Manilow at the moment. I can't sing as well as him, but I've had this horrible flu. But of course, Everton this weekend, managed by Sean Dyche, a side who are known as the draw specialists, and it is a pleasure to welcome on a special guest from one of the leading Everton podcasts, the Toffee Bluecast. Welcome on to Up the Cherries in all departments, Dan. Welcome to the show, Dan. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, apart from this horrible cold that's going around. And of course, first game of 2025. Are you looking forward to this?
Well, I am actually, because after that first game, I think Everton need revenge. Yes. because well, saying that, we since you had that game against us and you scored those 3 goals late on in the game and went on to win 3-2, it's been the spark to have gone on and had a cracking season. So it's not like it was luck. It generally was the light up of your season, looking at your season, because you've been cracking since.
Yeah, most definitely. And to be honest, it wasn't the greatest of performances from Bournemouth at the start, but what do you think really was, from an Everton fan's perspective, what do you think went wrong, after that 88th minute, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was late. Probably a record. I haven't looked whether it's a record, but it was probably a record score. Is it? Yeah, 3 goals.
Yeah, it is.
Everton setting a bad record, which really, as a fan, it's just it fumes you, because we were screaming out for substitutions. We thought something could have been done tactically, because Dyche said he could smell it after the game, and we just think as a manager, like, if you can smell it as a manager, then do something about it. We don't think he did enough. What he did do, we wasn't happy with what he'd done. He took Njai off, and we thought Njai was the player that was penning you back Because
Yes.
Njai for us was the only player that your team feared down down your right hand side, down our left hand side, and Jai was smashing it. He really was. Everything that was good come from that side. And when Dyche took Njai off, for me, it allowed you to have the freedom to say, "We fear nothing. Let's just go for it."
Yeah.
And it gave you that "let's go for it" vibe. But I did not expect you to do what you did. So fair play with what you did do, because you really did go for it with the freedom to go for it.
I think with the combinations, the substitutions that we made, but also what Dyche did, it kind of created that perfect storm for us. But of course, 2025, there is a lot for Everton fans to be optimistic about. Let's firstly talk about the ownership being finally resolved in December. Are you relieved to see the back of Mashiri?
Yeah, really relieved. I mean, he put money in. You can't fault him for the money
Yeah.
that he put in, but what he did with the money was really bad. Really, really bad. He couldn't have run a football club any worse, I don't think, in my opinion. When you look at what we've got now from the Mashiri era, we've got nothing. All the money that he put in, all the players that he's overspent on have gone, sold for less, if not gone free contracts. He did nothing to the academy. So we didn't really gain anything now from his academy coming through and being strong. He didn't have a clue about football. He just come in, put his money in, but didn't get the right people in place to run the football club well. So on Mashiri, he's been a nightmare. And the last couple of seasons where we've been in relegation battles and stuff, he hasn't put no money in. He wanted out. So we've had to fight with Mashiri doing nothing and just us fans there to fight for us.
And there have been, in these past couple of years, there's been some times where it's not just relegation that was a concern, it was the whole stability of Everton Football Club. A club that is staple of English football, could potentially find themselves in administration, financial ruin. The stadium, of course, we'll come on to in a second, but that not being completed. There was all these concerns a number of times throughout, wasn't there?
It's been so bad for Everton fans because, like you say, it's been players gaslighting the fans, like Gordon wanting to leave and trying to put it on the fans to get the leave. There's been loads of situations we've had to say board out because the board, we didn't even know what was going on. Like you've just said, we don't know what was going on. We don't know how bad things was continuously apparently on the line with FFP, and you can get big deductions, as we did get deductions. We didn't even, as a fan, we didn't know what deductions was coming. It could have been, at one point, they said they was going to give us 10 and 10 again, 20, and that would have just instantly relegated us, and we wouldn't have even been able to do anything to stay up. So our club was run so bad, and we was in the dark on how bad it had been run.
Yeah.
Luckily, we fought against it. And even with the ownership, you've got to think 7 partners. Mashiri said yes to them, went to the Premier League, and the Premier League said no, but they went into administration seconds after they got rejected from us. Lucky escape.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have gone to someone like that. Luckily, we've gone to the Freaking Group, who are good financially. Look like they're the right people, but we could have gone into some really bad hands that would have just killed Everton Football Club instantly. If these people, like I said, they went into administration after, so they would have took over Everton Football Club and put us in a real mess. But luckily, the Freaking Group have come in now. They've cleared all. They're big money people. So they've cleared all. Firstly, they've cleared everything. Now they're looking to get now they've got the stadium for Everton, so it's ours. That's a big thing as well, because we didn't want to have the stadium and it not be ours, someone else's. So the stadium's ours. So that's massive that it's ours. The next thing is they're getting the naming rights. They're looking on taking more plot around it. The Freaking Group are proper owners and a proper business that have been going a long time and established. And we're happy now because it's a stress as a football fan. You do not want, because we've learned everything. Like if you speak to Everton fans, we've had to look into stuff that we shouldn't even look into as a football fan, like financial FFP. We know every rule in the books. We've had to look it up because we've been breached for it sometimes. We know all the financial stuff because we felt like we've had to run the football club ourselves sometimes because it's been run that bad. We've had to be there for us when we've nearly got relegated. If it wasn't for the Everton fans, we would be relegated. And I know people think, oh, you fans, of course you'd say that to big yourself up. But I was there that Bournemouth game with my daughter. It was my daughter's first game. Took her the Bournemouth game for her first game. And it was just play Bournemouth and Leicester scored. So we was okay. And it was about 50, 60th minute. Leicester had scored. We just found out in the crowd Leicester had scored. So as soon as we found out Leicester had scored, we're drawing against you, and we knew we had to score to stay up. So that was a big game against yourselves as well. That was
exactly. It's scary when you think, and of course we've been there, but probably on a whole different scale. Of course, we was on -17. We were moments from being liquidated. You had our ownership, having to put money in, at the last moment just to keep it going. And it's a horrendous time, but it's so good to see Everton bounce back from that, because I did a video a little while back as well about PSR, and I feel that Everton were badly treated by the Premier League over this, because this was not the fans' fault. It's not the players' fault. It was the ownership. And what are your views on PSR now, considering you've come out of the back of this, where there was concerns, of course, the club could be, further docked points. There was concerns that the club might go into administration. Now you're over that. What is your view on PSR?
we got massively mistreated by the Premier League,
Yeah.
and that's the reason we was outside of the Premier League thing. And you seen after that the Premier League died down because they knew there was mistreating us and going to have to carry out that with other teams, which wasn't possible with how brutal they was on us. And the way they come at us to make a statement was disgusting. And luckily, we didn't let it affect us, and we still stayed up, even going through all that point deduction stuff. But the way they treated us was disgusting, because it was at a time where we was trying to better ourselves and build a new stadium, and it was even putting the stadium things into the FFP costs and making it hard for us to build a new stadium. And that stadium is to better ourselves, and they're supposed to help you to better your football club. We was trying to build a new stadium and do the right thing to help us financially, because you look at FFP, we needed that new stadium to help us turn over more money. The new stadium was going to do that, and they should have looked into that and said, right, we can see where they're going wrong financially, but this stadium in the future, just use your common sense, is going to make this football club more money, and it's a good thing for them. But they completely didn't take any of that into account. They went against us. You get 8 points for administration. We got 10 points. They gave us 10 points, which showed they didn't know what they was doing, because you couldn't even give 10 points. The maximum you could give was 8, but they gave us 10. But the bottom of the story is it was a nightmare season, like generally, because they could have just, it was in their hands. They could have just had Everton relegated. And like you said, Everton's football club history, we go way back. We've got a good reputation of always staying in the Premier League and never getting relegated. So it was stress. But now it feels good, because we know, in a way, it's a blessing of disguise, I like to think. I don't think we should have been treated like that, and I'll never forgive them. But I also don't think we was breaching the rules, but I don't think we was run properly financially and was wasting a lot of money. So even though we wasn't breaching them, it was wrong in what they did. It made us cut down on everything. And now we're not going to waste money now, because we've cut down on everything. We appreciate what players cost. We've used the loans the best we can use them. And going forward, when this freaking group take over and they can put money in, I'd like to think that they don't do what Mashiri did and just splash it in and waste it. I'd like to think that they keep the system we've got now and put it in sensibly and use the money to the best they can. So it could be, in the future, a blessing in disguise, if you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this stadium looks absolutely lovely that you have had completed now. And, it is going to be a real credit to the Premier League which I'm confident that Everton will still be there come the end of the season. How sad are you going to be to leave Goodison Park, though, a stadium which, yeah, might be a bit, okay, the leg room might be a bit tighter, but it's an old school stadium. It's a stadium that's got so many memories, not just for Everton fans, but fans of every club, really.
Yeah, it's like good and bad, isn't it? It really
Yeah,
is good and bad because it's the everyone says that comes to Goodison Park. There's nothing like it. It rocks. It
yeah,
generally does rock and bounce when your fans get going, and there's nothing like it. It's historic. You feel like you're on the pitch. You know, generations have been there. It's generations of fans that have
yeah,
gone through that stadium. So obviously, some fans have had their dad, their granddad, and everything, their generations. So they'll go there. Just it's like going to a church stone. Do you know what I mean? It's just generations. So in that way, you're not going to get that back. So it's really sad on that, and it is going to be emotional, and it's frustrating that we're having this season on the last season because we should just be having an okay season and being able to enjoy our last season at Goodison Park. So
yeah.
it's really sad. But then when you look, do you know when we was doing all the flares and stuff to keep Everton up,
Yes, yeah,
and there was talk that when we did the flares in the stadium's made of wood, it could light up. It's not updated. It's so old that it could be dangerous. And then you think to yourself, like, we don't want to be holding back. We have to move with times. However much you love the history and the old stadium, we always will, and we'll cherish it. You do have to move with times in this Premier League to match all the teams that are competing at the top. And if we move into this new stadium, we believe that we're gonna get obviously more people in the stadium because it's bigger capacity. You can do more stuff with the flares and the atmosphere. It just looks insane. This stadium does. It's like 5-star stadium. It's going to turn over a lot more money financially. And as much as some people have got a lot of hate on Everton, they will secretly they'll slate the stadium, but they will be so excited to go to it.
oh
Even
yeah,
the food courts that have come in are like 5-star food courts. The toilets have got baby changing rooms. It's insane. It's like the latest stadium on technology, and it's going to be near the dock as well, which makes it look twice as good when it's near the dock. It just looks beautiful, and I'm really, really excited about the new stadium because I think it will help us financially in the future. I think it's helped us get better owners. And it's the light. Where we've been through all of this darkness and we are in trouble, I've always said to other Everton fans on X Space and stuff like that, let's just get into that new stadium in the Premier League
yeah.
and we will be okay. The stadium will look after us going forward. And I think we've got one last season to do that. And it might take 1, 2, 3 seasons for that stadium to start doing what it needs to do for us. But I definitely think it will look after us.
Mate, I am jealous. I'm jealous because it looks absolutely lovely. We want one, to be honest, to replace Dean Court, which again, great memories at our current stadium, but we need to do something with it. But just coming on to this season, Dan, because since we beat you, okay, you did have the defeat by Aston Villa, but let's say from the middle of September to now, you have only lost 3 games, but you've only won 3 as well. And you've quickly got the tag of the draw specialist of the Premier League. You have conceded less goals than Manchester City. You've conceded less goals than Spurs. But what has really been the problem, considering that defensively you look pretty decent?
Well, it can be deceiving, isn't it? And this is
Yeah.
it's got a lot of Everton fans clashing against each other because I've had a few debates just recently. Some people, they look at our defensive record and they say the defence is fine. But
Mhm.
then you've got to take into consideration that our defensive record might be good because our midfield is tracking back a lot and getting
Yeah.
support in the defence. And if your midfield is tracking back too much, say your wingers are helping your left back and your right back out, and your
Yeah.
centre midfielders ain't really pushing up that much, then it's affecting your attacking into it. And I think personally, we are too defensive as an 11. We're
Mhm.
not getting up enough, and we're not even looking to have possession as well. And that's a scary thing, that sometimes Dyche, just before we even start the game, gives up possession. And I believe that when we've come up against teams where we've got more of a chance, this is where it's affected us. When Dyche is good when he comes up against, like, say, draw against Manchester City, because he sat back and then hoped to get a counter-attack goal. We never looked like winning, but we just sat back. So draw was good against them. Draw was good against Chelsea. Draw was good against Arsenal. Yes, they are the sit-back games. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to coming up against a team where you get possession, like when we come up against Nottingham Forest, Dyche doesn't know what to do with possession. Yeah. And you ain't going to stay up on draws. You need to win games like you've been doing. Look at your league position now. Yeah. Just through going for it sometimes. And that's what we've been lacking. If we keep drawing, we won't stay up. Like, I've always said this, if you have 3 games and you win one of them, you get the same as what you get for 3 hard-earned draws. So it's easier to just go for the wins, I think, personally.
To be honest, this is a little bit of a concern of mine because, of course, we play in that style, as you would say Man City or Arsenal do, and we do play on that front foot. We are high pressing. That could play straight into Dyche's hands, though, and his defensive plan.
Yeah, well, I think it did the first game. I really did. I think the first game, you come at us, and that's where Njai had a bit of success down your left-hand side. Your back line was high, and I think we looked like running behind it. Mm-hmm. And we've got Broja, who's just fit now. We've got him fit. He looks to be a really good striker. And Calvert-Lewin when he's on it. So we have got the ability to get behind you if you do press us. But sometimes that the end of that game, the way you press us at the end of that game, it was successful for you. It depends, doesn't it? You could come out, you could press us, and you could go 1-2-0 up, and it could be you pressing us and us sitting back that puts us in big trouble. And you think, no, you shouldn't be sitting back against them because you're letting them pressure and they are dangerous. You could be thinking of it like that. Or it could go the opposite way where you press us, our defence is really good, we can handle it, and then we counter-attack you and it works into our favour and we have joy that way. So it's going to be an interesting one on that.
Yeah, definitely. One thing as well, and this is something I've heard not just from Bournemouth fans, but quite a lot of fans, is if you took Dyche out of Everton, so if Everton were to sack Dyche and bring in somebody differently, it would be that transition period from that Dyche ball, which would cause Everton to be put into even more danger. Are you concerned about that? Do you feel that you have to play out this season with Dyche? Or if the Freaking Group feel that a change needs to be made, do you feel that these players can adapt under somebody? And it needs to be pretty much immediate, Dan, doesn't it?
I've done polls on extras recently, and I think it was 80% of people wanted Sean Dyche gone. And that was just recently, that the Everton fans are not happy with Sean Dyche. They really ain't, because they feel that he's not getting the best out of the players and he's holding a few back. And we're not attacking enough in games. Nothing worse than just watching you give up possession and attack. But it is, you've got to take into consideration the Freaking Group have to pay Sean Dyche. If his contract finishes at the end of this season, if we sack him now, we have to pay him. With FFP still there, it could be a new player coming in. So that could be massive for us, bringing a player in January or sacking Dyche now. So they might not be sacking him just for financial reasons. But I get what you're saying. You could get rid of him, and then you could realise that Dyche was actually keeping us stable and working with really bad players and doing the best he could with really bad players. But we believe that with Branthwaite and with Tarkowski, we could just, especially Branthwaite, we could just like take more of a risk and push a defence up higher and take a risk and go for games. And that's what we personally would like to do. We've got players like Njai who loves the ball, and we're not even trying to have possession. So we're seeing us capable of so much more. But Dyche not doing that. But it is a proper 50-50, because you would speak to some Everton fans and they'd say these players are just not good enough. Dyche is doing the best with a bad hand. And then you get some Everton fans that say Dyche's substitutions are awful, his selection's awful, and he's massively holding us back because the first thing he's got into these players in their heads is defend first and attack when you can, instead of actually just taking it to teams like you do.
I think it all stems from that Burnley spell that he had. And of course, when Burnley did choose to sack him, it kind of fell to pieces because those Burnley players were so used to playing in this Dyche ball, long ball football style. But I do kind of agree with you that Everton have got better players than Burnley ever did when Dyche was there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, if they do make that move, it'll be okay.
Yeah, well, this freaking group now, a lot of Everton fans are putting pressure on them now and saying, if you're coming in and you mean in business, Sean Dyche has got to be gone. That's what a lot are saying. If you're just going to leave it, it shows real bad intent of new owners coming in. It is in the air. It really is in the air. I think I'd love us to go and get a big named manager. When I listen to Sean Dyche's press conference, his last press conference, which always does me head in, he goes on about what happened before he was here. He's like, the talk has been like this way before I come. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you've been here nearly 2 years now. So if you haven't covered it, if you haven't sealed some of those problems, then you haven't been doing your job. You should be talking about this is your team now. So if anything goes wrong with Everton, you shouldn't be talking about it was going wrong before you come. You should be saying, I've had these 2 years now, this team, and it's my fault if it's not working. This is my team. I've made this team. And it's my fault if it's not working. So I don't want excuses. I want the bar higher. And I often do feel that Dyche reverts to, because stuff has gone bad before he's got here. Mm-hmm. It's just an easy cop, that is, to go back to just saying, oh, it was like this before. I just think that's an easy way. I would like him to say, I've come in. I set the bar here.
Yeah.
And if I'm not getting there, then it's my fault. And you should only look at that bar, not look at what happened before. And that's how you move a football club upwards, in my opinion. So it really frustrates me when he's talking about what happened before, because he should have moved us a lot more on than that. I mean, we stayed up. He shouldn't be talking about us still in relegation battles. We should be away from that now. Mid-table, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that, Dan. Well, we do this with every fan. We have to kind of predict this game. How do you think it's going to go? Is it going to be another draw to kick off 2025, or will Everton start to turn the tide around under the new owners?
Well, I've got a lot of respect for what you've done, and when we first played you, I'll be honest. When we first played you, we went 2-0 up. I was thinking, wow, this Bournemouth team really isn't good.
Yeah.
And when we was 2-0 up, I thought, oh my God, they really ain't good. And then we let you played amazing, and we didn't play that well. And you come back and you beat us. And then I watched you after, and you had some cracking results after. And it was just recently I watched you against West Ham.
Yeah.
And you should have battered them. I couldn't believe how much you was destroying West Ham. And I thought West Ham would beat you, but you should have battered them. It was just attack after attack after attack. And I thought, whoa, they are good now. Like, Bournemouth are actually really good now. And you look at you in the league table and you sit in 7th. So well done. And this isn't no easy game. But I still do believe we need this. We really do need this. We need to pull away from this relegation stuff. So it's a massive game on both. You need this to push on and carry on having a cracking season. And we need it because we just need to get away from the mess and just enjoy this season. So I'm going to go for score prediction. I'm going to go 3-1 Everton, and that's no disrespect. That's just me wishing that we can win 3-1, to be fair. And that wouldn't be easy. I have to give you a goal because you're scoring machines at the minute. But
yeah,
I think we've got a chance. I don't know what. I'm interested to see what you think, though, because it's a team near the bottom, but I don't feel like it.
No, to be honest, the way I look at, Everton from the outside looking in, I see a team that seems to have that resilience. I've noticed the Man City draw. I noticed, the other draws that you've got, which, have really, really shone, to be honest, and show, there's not a lot of goals being conceded. Yes, there's not a lot being scored either, though. And we've got a lot of injuries going into this match. We've got a hell of a lot of injuries. We've had a lot of injuries over the Christmas break. Of course, we've lost Adam Smith now. So we've now got James Hill at right back. Max Aarons doesn't seem to be liked by Iriola, but that's a real shame. So I think there is a little bit of fatigue in our camp. Can we get a result against Everton? I'm going to be honest, and I actually think that this will probably end in a draw, which won't be any good for us, won't be any good for you. But I think that a draw, based on how fatigued we are, and probably the lack of goals that are being scored at the moment, but it will be a tough game. I can see this being a real tough game, and Everton will come out fighting, but I can see probably a 1-1 draw here.
Yeah, I get it. It's been crazy with Bournemouth and Everton because when there was that era where we had Lampard and you scored 7 goals against us I still got flashbacks from that. I think it was 7 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, it was. It was the Carabao Cup, wasn't it? And then the league game.
7 goals. Yeah. In 2 games in quick concession. So it was a goal fest. And then obviously when we beat you to stay up, it was 1-0. So it's gone a little bit more. So I can see where you're coming from. Yeah. Where you could think it's going to be a high scoring game with all your attacking players, but it might not be. So you could be right. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, fair enough, Dan. Well, I will be on your show later on, but do tell everybody where they can find the Toffee Bluecast.
Yeah, so it's just type in Toffee Bluecast. It comes straight up on YouTube. We've been going about 2 seasons now. It's me and Paul that host it. We always get an opposition fan guest on. So when we play a team, we get that team on as well. So everyone can watch us basically because your team, we will have you on at some point when we play you. So Toffee Bluecast, type it in. Hit the like and subscribe as we always say on our channels. And I think we're on 5,000 subscribers now. So we're doing really well. We're happy with the way we're going. So get behind us. Toffee Bluecast.
Definitely. And the link is below. So go and like and subscribe as well to the guys. Dan, it's been a real pleasure having you on. All the best for the rest of the season. I genuinely mean that because Everton fans have been brilliant to this channel. When I've done the one-off video with regards to PSR, and I was incensed by that. Not just for Everton, but also Nottingham Forest and how Man City could get away scot-free. It really incensed me because it could be us, it could be any other club in the Football League, even in the Premier League. So, it's been a real pleasure, and hopefully, fingers crossed, go from strength to strength. And looking forward to visiting your new stadium next year.
Yeah, can't wait for it. Better times ahead.
Definitely, mate.
Actually get some real good times.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thank you so much, mate, and I'll see you soon.
Great being on, mate. Thank you. See you soon.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Also, Everton fans, do check out all of our other interviews. We did have Paul Rideout on this show a little while back for that 3-2 win. Sorry to keep reminding you of that. We quite enjoyed it. No doubt you probably couldn't stand it. Also, we've had Damon Minchella on a couple of times as well. So if you are interested in Ocean Colour Scene and the perspective of that from an Everton fan, go check that out as well. Until the next one, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.